Welcome back. Strongman Personal Finance. Like, subscribe, hit the bell button for notifications, and share these videos to your friend or friends if you have friends, so I can grow my channel, make a lot of money, and then retire in my 40s or 50s and be a happy man. Today, we have another Ask Me Anything regarding a pension. And this man is wondering, should he cash out his pension that he's accumulated at a job? Or should he keep it in there? What's the better move? What's the play? Well, let's see exactly what he said here. A little background, and we'll keep him anonymous. I was a police officer in Georgia, hopefully from Savannah. That's where my family's from, for 9 years with a traditional pension. It is currently locked frozen, and I cannot add to it due to not being employed there anymore. I can start receiving payments in 2048, but the amount will only be around between $750 and $930 a month, depending on how I want the surviving spouse to collect after I pass. Yeah, basically, the more benefits you get for your pension, the less you're going to get. Like if you want it to go to your spouse if you die, the more stuff you add like that, the lower the pension's going to be. So I would expect it to be the lower amount if you want to add your spouse. Those amounts are set. That sucks. I think there will be crazy inflation by 2048. Maybe, maybe not. I wouldn't be too worried about it. So I thought about rolling the lump sum, which is around $40K, into something else. So mainly wondering if I am thinking too much about the inflation and would rolling it into something now that I continue to add to be better. Well, number one, I think you're a little too worried about inflation. Now, everybody that's trying to sell you gold and Bitcoin and all this other BS is constantly talking about inflation. But what we're worried about right now with the virus is actually deflation, because people aren't spending as much money, and that leads to price cuts. And that has a ripple effect through the entire economy. And that could potentially result in deflation. And we don't want deflation, because if there's deflation, people tend to hold off on cash or hold their cash and defer purchases for the future because they think prices will drop. And that starts a vicious cycle of deflation and more deflation and more deflation. So what the Federal Reserve is doing is they're monetizing the federal debt, and they're doing other kind of, open market operations to lower interest rates and pump money into the economy, because that's what they have to do. Because if there's deflation, we're in a lot of trouble. So the Federal Reserve will do all this stuff to try to stimulate the economy and to prevent deflation. And eventually we will return to some kind of inflation scenario. But if that happens, well, the Federal Reserve has the ability to reduce inflation. They can increase it or try to increase it, and they can decrease it. So I wouldn't stress too much about it. There's people watching this stuff. Are they going to make mistakes? Yes. Are they perfect? No. But it's kind of out of your hands, man. I mean, the Federal Reserve is independent. There's nothing you can do about it. And I mean, inflation hasn't been too bad, has it, recently? So I wouldn't stress too much about inflation. However, I don't like the return that your pension is paying out. But there's a couple things to consider here. Number one, a pension is a guaranteed, well, as guaranteed as you can get. It's a guaranteed check that you're going to get at a certain age, which it looks like, 27 years from now. So if you leave it in there, it's guaranteed you're going to get that. No doubts, no matter what, you're going to get that money. Now, are there alternative investments that you could potentially make more money on? Yes. For example, I pulled up a simple investment calculator, and let's say you can withdraw it from your pension. That's the first assumption. And the second assumption is that there's no tax liability, because you have to be careful with taxes. Like, I don't know that much about pension withdrawals, but whenever I see some kind of withdrawal or rollover, there's probably some kind of tax things you need to watch out for. So I would definitely ask your pension administrator, hey, what are the tax consequences if I roll this pension over? Like, can I roll it to a traditional IRA or what? You need to be careful of that. So what I did is I plugged this into a simple investment calculator. I said your starting amount of your investment now is $40,000, assuming you can get it out tax-free with no additional contributions. And then a 10% rate of return, which is like the average of the US stock market over the last yada, yada years. And then I did it for 27 years. And I get $524,400. And that's assuming you buy a total stock market index. That assumes you hold it for the next 27 years and don't screw around with it. And that assumes that the returns will actually be 10%. So there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts. Like I can't guarantee any of this to you. But if history or if the future plays out like history, you'll get a 10% return. Maybe. No guarantees. But if you did get a 10% return over 27 years, well, let's see how much you would get, or let's see how much you could theoretically generate from this portfolio. So what I do is I divide the number 524,400 by 300. And that kind of assumes a 4% withdrawal rate. And then you divide the payment into monthly payments. So based on that, before taxes are considered, you would be getting about $1,748. Now, you said in your message that you would get between $758 to $932. That's guaranteed. This number that I'm telling you, I want you to really understand this, is not guaranteed. This is a theoretical amount that you could realize, the $1,748 a month, if you got that rate of return and you didn't screw around with it for 27 years. All right, man? So what are my thoughts? Well, I can't tell you what to do. You need to decide, do you want that guaranteed payment? And you need to ask yourself, if I cash this out and assuming I don't pay taxes on it, am I going to invest this in mostly stocks, broadly diversified stock index funds? And am I not going to screw with it for 27 years? And am I willing to accept the possibility that the returns of the stock market might not be as good as I expect? So if you don't like the risk that's involved, because there's a lot of risk, you don't know, there's no guarantee, and you want that part of your portfolio to just be a pension, that's fine. You know, sometimes going the safer route for part of your portfolio is fine. It's up to you, man. So that's kind of my answer there. There's a lot of assumptions. There's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts. And I'm not a financial advisor. I can't tell you to do something, but there are a lot of considerations. Taxes, assumptions about future growth, and your own behavior. That all matters. But if you want to be safe, just keep it in there or just let it sit. Just think about it. Do more research and, make your own decision once you get around to it. But you need to be as informed as possible, because if you make one mistake with taxation or you pick crappy investments, let's say you did cash it out and you pick crappy investments, or the stock market does suck for the next 10, 20, 30 years, well, then maybe you would have been better off with the pension. So that's my thoughts. But ultimately, if it was me, I would do more research, but I'm not a big fan of pensions, really. This is me personally. This doesn't mean you. I don't really like pensions personally. I think I can manage my own money better, but I'm also highly experienced in managing my own money. So if that's not you, if you don't want to think about it, don't do it. All right. Well, hopefully that answered your question. Like I said, I can't tell you whether to do it or not. It's your decision. Okay. Don't sue me. But that's all I have for that. If you have another question, just shoot me a message, man. And, or we can just talk face to face and discuss. It's up to you. All right, let's go to the next video.